a bit of a special edition today. We have a special guest star.
Mogito.
Maria.
Gareth.
Yeah, so let's have a little butchers of their little truck. And of course it's just started raining, so let's do this quickly.
It's like being in Wales.
So what's inside there?
A Unimog.
No, that's the whole thing.
Oh, the engine.
Yeah.
You want the engine? So it's a 366 in there.
So it's operated.
Yeah, with turbo and intercooler, and also the overdrive box.
Yeah.
So it pops along.
Yeah, I haven't been able to unscrew the overdrive, unfortunately. And do you know the power?
No.
Right.
No. Ample.
Enough.
Yeah.
Like
and I wouldn't want to go quicker.
Like a Rolls Royce. And you said, what was the cruising speed? You said it's pretty happy.
It's really, really happy in the since we've left the UK. It's really happy at about 75 to 80 kilometers an hour. It'll do more, but it's comfortable at that speed, and we're comfortable in it at that speed, which also makes a difference.
Yeah, and obviously it has a fancy pants bonnet that makes it look so super awesome.
Yeah, well, new.
Spare wheel in standard location.
Yeah,
and you're running
365s.
365s.
So chunky, a light pain to get on and off. Getting it off, not so bad. There's no winch or anything, so it's literally just getting it back on is a two-person job. And it's hard.
And it is very tight.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's the biggest one you can fit standard, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So I'd love to put it elsewhere, but that's where it lives. Batteries, truck and leisure are in there.
And what you have, the Optimas?
Optimas for the truck. And some very sparkling new Victron deep cycle batteries, AGMs. I'd love to put lithium on, but that's the next
iteration.
Yeah. In here we have outside boxes, and in there tools and spare parts and oil and wheel chocks, just bits of wood, nothing fancy. Pupex heater, cans, both sides, water, one each side, water and diesel. Sand ladders, hopefully we'll never need them, but when you need them, you need them. Little reversing light and camera.
Yep.
So probably not the optimum place for it, but it does the job. We're from Wales. Bigger fuel tank, so 180 I think it is, 180 litres. Just a small plastic truck box which we keep our hoses and airline in. Outside airline, electric hookup. In there's camping stuff, chairs, tables, fire pits. And then some tarp stuff and straps and whatnot. So
let's have a look in the cab.
Okay, the cab bit is pretty straightforward military Unimog. We've made it a little bit plusher with carpeting just to make it feel a bit more homely, and the old lining was kept falling on my head and it was stinking. Then we've added, we've got two air conditioning units in here, the hatch, and a very small cheap USB fan from Amazon. I run a Garmin camper truck sat nav only because you can put the measurements in, which makes it a little less stressful, certainly with the height, because we're 3.5 meters tall. It's not foolproof, but it just gives you a little bit of peace of mind. I didn't want any electrics up, so if ever we left the truck, no one can see any electrics. So we made a box to put the stereo and the reverse camera on, and then speakers in there because there's nowhere to put speakers, and that all comes off with a few screws, and then we can store it in the back if needs be. So there's nothing fancy in here for other people to see. Got storage behind here. We got cigarette lighter sockets to charge the pedal bike batteries up, which pop in there if needs be, or maps or whatever. The fancy pants trigger. It's not an ejector seat for Maria. It's that's the overdrive, and it does make a big difference. It drops the cruising speed. I think we generally cruise 75 to 80, and you're talking 2.1, 2.2. We don't have big soundproofing in here. Put a bit in the doors. You know, again, a job for maybe another day. We'd love the excellent flooring that Yoka fitted in his, but you know, we kind of just did what we could. But the tyre noise is the biggest thing anyway. So, but yeah, it's home from home. Done some miles now, and it's all right. Nicer seats would be great, but these are fine. Maria sits on a memory, and she does drive, but I've done most of the driving on this trip so far, and she sits on a memory foam cushion, which she seems to like. Nothing clever or fancy.
Mobile phone holder there for you.
Yeah,
and
just
a
cheap
mobile phone
ones.
holder there for me.
Yeah,
Some rambles.
the rambles were copied from your videos.
Everything's my fault.
Yeah, obviously the obligatory overland sticker.
Yeah.
For those who know, they know.
Yeah.
We panelled the back as well because the windows were obviously no point and it was always filthy. And again, it just made it feel a little bit more comfortable and quiet in here. Yeah.
In the house.
Because of where the door is, we couldn't have sliding in ladders and you know, the complications and engineering with that. So we just have hooks on the ladder, hooks on there, when you put it away, hooks on top of the door, and then there's clips there. Simple, 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 and virtually no money. We like virtually no money. We're not engineers.
Okay, who wants to start?
Okay, go on then. All right, so this is my domain. Don't want to be stereotypical, but I do love cooking. So we've got our spice rack, so all magnets. We've got all of our things that we use regularly. The little drop down. So with like everything in here, it's got to be sort of anchored down when you're moving. So we've got a little gas stove where we can just put these on when we stop. We work on LPG. So we've got our little gas bottle in here with bins and whatnot.
So all the cooking stuff is held in with magnets other than the aluminium bit?
Yeah, so these just go on. And then we've got...
And they're on magnets as well.
On burners. Dual purpose tap. So this gives us filtered water as well as just a normal flow. And then we've got our little Dometic fridge with a tiny little freezer compartment as well.
When we got it, a lot of this was already, the actual cupboards were fitted, but it was very dated and it was just a piece of Formica and very sort of worn and old. So we wanted to make the kitchen, it's our home, so we wanted to make it homely, and it's not the most lightest or practical of surfaces as a worktop, but we like it because it feels like home. So oak worktop. I work in practical terms, so I wanted a piece of stainless steel or something really, you know, easy, and we had many a discussion about this acrylic splashback, which I fought against for quite some time, but eventually it was the right thing to do. Maria persuaded me that we wanted some bling in here, and actually it's the first thing everyone goes, wow, the splashback, and Maria always just gives me a knowing look of, yeah, see, I told you, which, you know, she won. And it was, it does make it sort of special in here. Maria mentioned the gas. It's a Gasset system, which is an outside fill, which is great. We don't have to swap the bottle. We just fill up in petrol stations. We got the adapters for all of Europe. We've got adapters to run barbecue point outside as well, outside cook, but we can also run a reverse fill, not filling the gas bottle, but we can run normal gas bottles through our manifold to everything if we can't get LPG, but we can just get gas bottles, i.e. in Morocco. In here, we'll open it and shut it quick. Well, one, this is Maria's handiwork. She made all this. We both like our wildlife, and so this was just all old Formica. In there we have a shower and a little Kildrick compost toilet. Works a treat. It's fine for us. It's very small, but it's we only have a small shower. It's only 70 by 70, so it's a bit tight. We've got some clotheslines and hooks in there. One of the things we've realised, life on the road, is, you know, drying towels. Certainly towels, probably more than anything. It's just damp towels all the time. So we've figured out some clothesline method there. Single beds. We've got this was our newest addition. It was the truck was originally out in Libya and Egypt, I think. So the windows in it are very small. So we wanted to put a big window in, and so we love that. It makes such a difference. 2 single beds. We and ahed about trying to get double beds in, but because of the outside boxes and there's storage under each one, but there's double height storage in each one, there and there, and then the outside boxes, which we saw earlier, under there. The single beds, especially if it's hot weather or one of you needs to get up in the middle of the night, having the single beds works a treat. We found out that we sleep better in here than we do at home. But then we realised we probably have more wine in here than we have at home. Cupboards then, so storage underneath is shoes, spare parts, stuff you don't use all the time. I think your clothes are in there. In there is sort of cameras, towels, my clothes in there.
We've got a little wine cellar.
We have so originally there was a fridge in here, so it's a sliding cupboard, but we call it the wine cellar. We've got a table which is an offcut of the worktop, which we've got a little slide in place for that, and then we've got a pole there so we can put a table up in here, which makes it feel like at least a little bit of a normal dining room. Our little world map, which Maria put together. Just normal LED reading lights for when, but you can twist and swivel them. Big glass skylights, I think they're marine ones. Under this cupboard we've got 12 volt hookup, the domestic electricity, and then the 12 volt system we run 24 volt, so we've got a converter in there, a very nice new converter, thank you Yoka, who has helped us immeasurably this week with some of our electrical problems. And then under that one we've got our inverter, and so Victron inverter, 1200 watt inverter, solar MPPT, and a CTEK shore charger. And in about a week's time we will have a very nice Victron DC charger, which we will be picking up shortly, hopefully, which hopefully will solve. We've had a few little issues this week or last week with shot batteries, so hence we've upgraded a few things. A nice fan, very quiet, you can put it on a timer and it just moves the air around a little bit. Again, nothing too fancy, but so because Maria is of a certain age.
You cheeky kid.
We had a big send-off from the Adventure Armchair Festival, and a marvellous bunch of overlanding mates tricked us and got us up on stage and presented us with this amazing history of some of our yes, of our get-togethers in different festivals, events, and mainly drinking sessions here and there. So we've had that on since we've left, which makes us smile every day.
Before we let them go, what's your plan? Where are you heading? What's going to happen?
We're heading south.
Yes, it's raining, and it's been raining for a while now, so
yes.
So yes, we're heading down to see some friends in Tavira, and then over to Almeria in Spain. And then because of our 90-day restriction in the EU, we are heading down to Morocco just before Christmas. Hopefully for a few months. And then, yeah.
Then we'll head back. More than likely, we might just stay in Morocco, we might go down to Senegal. We got 3 months out there because you have to be out for 90 days. And then we'll head back in, and we don't have too much of a plan, but the idea is then we've got another 90 days in Europe, and we'll either catch the ferry up to Barcelona or Marseille or over to Italy, and then we'll go and see Italy, Croatia, Albania, Greece for 3 months, and then we'll head then into Turkey to
Exciting.
yes. This is on the assumption everything works well, and you know,
It'll be fine.
yeah. So you know, and that's part of the adventure when it doesn't work too well. So but yes, the idea is we're very lucky that we have a year on the road in our little Mogito.
Yeah.
Big Mogito.
And why is it called Mogito?
I'll let Maria explain that one. Wilbert.
Well, yeah. Gareth was always sort of did a lot of solo motorbike events, and I started to accompany him and met some amazing people, but didn't feel that I was really contributing much. As much as I've done a fair bit of travel myself, it wasn't very motorbike centric. So I decided to contribute by making mojitos. And it's kind of become a bit of a thing now, especially in the Overland event. We do a pop-up bar for charity, yeah, very kindly Will has donated a lot of Bacardi over the last few years, so Mojito became Mogito.
What has been you've been on the road now for a month and a bit?
2 months.
2 months a bit. And what has surprised you? What in a bad way and a good way?
Oh, I think just I love being on. I've been very lucky to have done some big motorbike trips, and I just love the rhythm of being on the road. That's that movement and the bombardment of your senses every day of different stuff. The truck obviously is very different. It's the first time I've done anything other than two-wheel travel, really. And it's been so much fun, and the reaction the truck gets everywhere we go is brilliant. Driving in Europe is a lot easier than in the UK. City's a bit problematic, but everywhere else fantastic. So yeah, it's just we've smiled every day.
Yeah, I think I'm surprised at how well we've adapted and how quickly we've adapted. And to be honest, living in a small space, I mean, yes, you're in here, but you have that outside. Not necessarily the rain, but you know, it is a home from home, and it feels like, you know, in the nights we may be parked up on the top of a cliff or halfway up a mountain, but the minute you bring that ladder in, it's a safe haven as well. Got really attached to it already.
I think as well, for me, I was sort of a little bit concerned of that I would miss my motorbike, which I do miss my motorbike, but I very, very luckily had a little ride on the Groms today. But I thought I'd miss my motorbike, especially in the mountains, because I love riding in the mountains. But I think the thing which has surprised me is the Mog, although obviously is a bit of it churns up the hills quite well, but actually it's challenging enough to not be boring and frustrating. So you have the same, it's not the same feel as a motorbike, but you've got to concentrate a lot. So I've not thought, oh, I'd love to be on this road. I mean, I've done a lot of the roads on the bike anyway, but the Mog actually was really good fun in the mountains. I really enjoyed doing it, and we did Col de Tourmalet 4 times, I think.
Yeah. Not deliberately.
Well, yeah, we were waiting
it just turned out that way.
We were trying to get to Pic de Midi, and there was bad weather, so we just kept going back and forth but we camped up halfway up on it twice, I think, and just up in the mountains for me, I love.
Cool.
So yeah, bring on the next part of the journey.
Cool. Anything you would like to change with the truck? On the inside here?
Maria?
You...
No. No, I think, it's a constant evolution, I think, with the truck. I mean, we've changed a bit of the electrics, which was great. I'd love to put lithium in next time, but we weren't compatible then, but we're getting closer now with the final sort of few things we're doing. You know, more windows would be great, bigger fridge, better gas. You can keep going, but actually it all works fine.
Yeah.
And you can get caught up, I think, in the detail and just you can worry about every little thing, which I did before I left, but then when you're on the road, you kind of go, well, actually, it all works. Yeah, the water tanks are probably in the wrong place, for weight distribution. But does it stop us having a good time? No, it doesn't. We can just keep going.
That's a good attitude.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people bog down in details and
yeah, I think it's
do adapt.
And again, I'm used to motorbikes, so the fact that I've got cold beer in a fridge and a bed and more than one change of clothes is just amazing.
We're lucky to have it.
Oh yeah, it's been the reason we got it, we weren't getting a Mog at all. We were looking for either a Sprinter 4x4 or maybe a Vario. And I've seen lots of Mogs on my travels and had the little corgi toy when I was a kid. And we had quite a few discussions with a certain Yoka Selin and Kaz about Mogs, and I said no, they're too expensive, they're too thirsty, too complicated, and we were buying at one stage we were buying an American school bus and realised it was too big, and I kept thinking of the Italian job, and then one day we went to go and see a Vario, and not far from where we were going to see it, we were taking a weekend away to have a look at some stuff, and there was a Mog not that far away, so we went and had a look at that, and we both got in it, drove it, both laughed. You didn't like driving the Vario anyway. You drove the Mog better, and we just started laughing, and we've been laughing other than fuel stops. We've been laughing ever since. And so Yoka had been trying to persuade us to buy one, and we ironically ended up buying them or getting them exactly the same week.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago now, I think.
It's 4, isn't it? No,
yeah, it feels more, but so
COVID years don't count.
No. so yeah, it's been for us. It's you can't make sense of them. I mean, and we're not doing extreme off-roading in it. We've been off-roading it, but we're not. We're not even pushing. 30% of what it can do, but for us it works. It makes us smile, and for me it doesn't have to tick any other box than it makes me smile.
Right. And I think that's a good place to end, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. So they need to go now before it gets too late, like last morning.
They made us drink until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mogitoise.
I'm innocent, officer. It wasn't me. Anyway, so have a good travels.
Yes,
and thanks for letting us have a look at the truck.
Thank you for your assistance and help and hospitality these last 10 days. It's been invaluable, and we have had the most fantastic time here. So thank you.
Most welcome. Right. A big thanks to Gareth and Maria for letting us have a look in their tiny house on big wheels. They stayed with us for 11 days, and we actually managed to bully them into staying an extra day, as we hadn't really had that much time being tourists and being social. The weather was bad, and we worked on the truck for most of the days they were here. Luckily, the day we managed to convince them to stay was glorious and dry, so we got a helping of touristy activities, good food, long conversations, and perhaps a tad too much to drink. The next day it was time for them to leave, but there were 2 things that I really wanted to happen. The first one was for Gareth to go out on a Honda Grom for a ride, as he hadn't tried one and he was missing motorbikes a bit. And the second thing was to film this truck tour. Whilst Kaz and Gareth were out riding, I filmed some of the details. When they returned from the ride, the process of getting back on the road started. They took the truck off the leveling chocks, filled the water tanks and did all the other preparations. The weather was getting worse too, but even if it was already late, they abided to my request of doing the filming. In less than 45 minutes we did all the filming, and it was all done in one single take. They were happy to do it and didn't seem that bothered at all. I'm not sure I could have kept such a good mood, knowing that time was running away and the rain was once again getting worse. So therefore, once more, big thanks to Gareth, Maria and Mogito for the tour. Give them a follow over on their Facebook so that you can keep up with their shenanigans. hope you've enjoyed the video and that it's given you some food for thought for your own camper build. Thanks for watching.
Stable door.
Brilliant.
Unstable owner.